go right ahead.
Yeah.
You might read the question out too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Viscount asked me, what would I like to see in SOM 2? So in the next season of Vanilla WoW content. It's a good question because there's so many things I feel like they could try. And you guys are definitely welcome to chime in if you guys have any thoughts. But I could see them trying out a couple major things. Number one would be like a season of PvP where they maybe try to revamp the whole like Vanilla WoW PvP system and change it to like rated BGs being the metric by which you get PvP gear.
I want rated BGs now, dang it.
Yeah, so maybe doing something like that, maybe adding arenas to Vanilla WoW and having just maybe like keeping the base game very similar to, you know, what it was in 2019, but adding those things and having it be like a season of PvP, season of someone Lesamos has like he's got like this whole thing written out. He's super stoked on a potential season of PvP. So I think that's one way they could go. I know that a lot of people have talked about like a season of balance where they kind of maybe they take things from like TBC, like class specific changes that they made for classes going into TBC, and they apply those in vanilla from the start. And I hope that if they do that, they keep it very minimal, and they just, instead of like trying to like tweak a bunch of little things about classes, just sort of like add like the paladin taunt, right? And then, you know, take just like very small details that are like, there's a reason why certain classes and specs don't work as well, like in raiding and stuff, but there are potential ways for them to like make them just good enough that guilds would have a reason to bring them, right? And it's things like providing more raid buffs or providing like group buffs and things like that. So
like taking away the debuff limits and buff limits, and I've heard people just say, hey, just like see what it's like, you know, with just level 70 talent trees and just let it go. Like I just wish that pre-patch had been longer so I could have played more with that. Like I never got to raid Nax with all the new talents. I would have loved to see the shift in power of the DPS charts. Like it would have been neat. I assume you want world buffs back though, right?
I personally, yes. And that's another idea for like a season focus, right? Is that a season of speed type of thing, where I think that if they do that, there's a couple of things. One, I think that when people talk about adding world buffs into vanilla WoW, I think for a lot of people, it immediately elicits a negative like gut reaction. And I think that part of it is that people remember world buffs being what they were through like the first 5 phases of the game, and they kind of forget about how much easier it got once they introduced the chrono boon. So I think that's a big thing that makes it a lot easier. I think they could do similar to what they did on Chinese servers, which is just like world buffs just go out like every couple hours, you know, an Oni buff goes out or whatever, or a ZG buff goes out. And that way it doesn't turn into this sort of like toxic atmosphere from like, you know, who's got a head to drop, you know, and how much are they going to try to like scam the entire server to like drop it, and are they going to drop it when they say they're going to drop? Like there's that whole part of it.
Are we going to have griefers that are going to kill the resetter?
Mind control, and they kill them.
Yeah, so it's like they could do a lot of things to alleviate the world buff tensions, and then I personally would love like a season of speed where it's, you know, it maybe Blizzard does something where they support like speedrun competitions of some kind. That would be cool. So there's that. And then I see, I think Viscout in chat also saying like adding new content. And I think that that's another area that a lot of people I think would be really interested in, is, you know, coming up with just new things in that baseline vanilla game. So raids and dungeons and even areas of the world that can come out either after Nax or maybe along the way. I think that's a very cool idea. I threw out on Twitter a while ago whether or not, and I just asked, like, would you be interested in heroics in vanilla WoW? and you can imagine like the number of low level dungeons that could be turned into a heroic, like level 60 version of that dungeon. That alone creates content even out of things that already exist.
It's already there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have any thoughts?
They took
WillE?
the tier 0.5 quest lines and, I don't know, gave you alternate tier sets.
Mhm.
Those quest lines you could do or something.
Yeah, I think that
You can actually get a set for Prot or Arms or Fury. And like it's specific, set bonuses for each one. I don't know, do tier tokens or, do sets for each classes. Look at stuff that didn't work, like I don't know, enhancement shamans, not in the best spot in classic. What if two-handed enhancement was a legitimate DPS spec that was pretty good?
Yeah, but you'd have to be a horde, so why would we do that?
Oh yeah, true. That didn't even cross my mind. I so often forget, that like
that WillE's a dirty horde.
Well, no, WillE's
nothing wrong with
that.
No, I mean you could say the same for Ret Paladin. The Ret Paladin enhancement shaman, big two-hander, hit very fast. That'll make them viable.
Yeah. And I think that even taking some of the things from because one of the reasons you bring a Ret Paladin in TBC, in addition to them providing a pally buff, is like the group buff, the party buff, right? And it's just like little things like that, I think, could incentivize guilds to bring, Ret Paladins, enhancement shamans, and things like that.
Yep. Well, I mean, we brought a Ret Paladin for different times throughout Classic, just because, you could, you wouldn't do it on a speed run, but I mean, a casual, semi-casual, semi-hardcore guild would be fine running a Ret. Wouldn't really want two of them.
Happily swing their weapon, have a good time.
It's kind of interesting because Season of Mastery, I think, was supposed to be with the unlocking of debuff slots and stuff. I think that a lot of people thought, oh, this is going to make a lot more specs and stuff viable. But with them removing world buffs and buffing bosses, I think that most guilds in Season of Mastery are actually more incentivized to lean into the meta and not bring the off specs and stuff like that. So it's, in a weird way, Season of Mastery kind of is less friendly towards all these off specs and things than even Classic was when it came out.
Interesting. Oh, any other thoughts on Season of Mastery? What you would do for the next one, WillE? Before I move on to what I've been doing.
Yeah, pretty much what we're talking about. I was more interested to hear how it went at the moment, actually, because I feel like I didn't really have the time to commit raiding on it, but I'll be interested to hear how AQ40 goes and whether they change anything for Nax as well.